Alright, hello everyone, welcome back to Brigador. Last time, this new game where I can't really do recaps. Today we're doing If I Had a Tail, which I believe is a Queens of the Stone Age reference, another good song. Playing someone new today, I guess. I don't know exactly what the numbers are supposed to mean, but I'm guessing they're like different routes in some sense. Because, yeah, this one, we were just like, I guess nobody. Here we've been Clotilda Alto. Today we are at Car Sing. Contract, removal target structures, opposition light loyalist. Note, the previous SNC contract dispatcher has been reassigned. In Car Sing, dossier is flagged you for probationary oversight. You will not be furnished with ammunition for this contract. That's a bit worrying, but alright. All records indicate you are not fully checked out on a Kilgore. Additional instructions will be provided as necessary. Bender, SNC Informatics Division. No ammo slow wording. We do have camo though. And we're driving a Kilgore. We read about those before, so we have some idea of how these work. Sing's Kilgore is armed with Duchess 40mm and Stutter 27mm chain guns, with active camouflage for defense. The loadout is extremely tough and able to drive through most structures with ease. Good all-around damage. Alright, we'll just go for this. Destroying all power substations lower panic walls. I've heard about panic walls. While destroying all comm stations increases the spot timer for alarms, reduces any alarms alerting radius. Destroying orbital defense batteries will draw attention to the site within a large radius. Alright. What does space do? Space, like, okay, hopped me forward a little bit. Yeah, we have no ammo, which sounds like a problem. Okay, that's why space made me go forward a bit. Okay. Oh, yeah, and we can just go through, it looks like we can just go through destructible terrain for the most part. But I would like to get a bit of a read on how this works. If I bull rush. Alright. Oh, geez, yeah, we can plow through basically anything if we just push on it long enough. Do I have a special ability too? Ah. Okay, where are the stationary turrets? I guess they're over there. Oh, the screen just went black for a second. It's fine. If I do this... Oh, I got one of them. Okay, I am recharged. So I guess we'll just try this again now. Alright, there we go. So I guess we have 3 structures to take down, and that was 2 of them. I mean, that's what it said. Oh, I see. So we gotta, like, do this, and then we're going to charge in. And there's our exit. We are taking some damage, so let's just get out of here. And that's our first look at whatever this vehicle is called. I already forget. But Kilgore. Alright. I'm guessing these 4 are all going to be with Sing, so we have to look forward to that. But regardless, We're keeping up with this pacing, so let's go ahead and get some more intel ratings to close out today, I guess. Well, close out, it's like gonna be 2/3 of this video, but start with the light loyalist tanks, starting with the doorman. A mobile guard listening post, straining an engine and chassis entirely unsuited for it. I've seen them used as police boxes or even as makeshift vaccination clinics in better times. One of the only loyalist vehicles you can actually consider roomy on the inside. They try and punish losers by giving them doorman patrol duty out in the deads. But they usually end up passing out candy to the local kids and smoking on the left-hand rear deck with a brick on the gas pedal. Not suited for combat in really any way, despite the excellent sensors and comms package they come with, but nobody conscripted ever really expected to see combat in their lifetime, now did they? At the Antanzer. I don't know how to pronounce the umlaut, but the Antanzer is a retrofit of the Batushka, contracted out to an offshore arms company that botched the job so hard they were fired immediately. But not before the NEP took receipt of more than a few Antanzers. It still has the speed of a Betka, but the up armoring actually froze the upper hull into place. Visibility is poor. A hobbled BT tank, but the NEP still pressed them into service anyway. Crossgear superior and a BT driver ends up in an Antanzer. With the Batushka, lightly armored but reasonably well armed for the time, and with far better mobility than other contemporary tank designs. Designated BT-33, the monitor Betka, or diminutive Batushka, came from the acronym and stuck. You can tell how long the driver and their BT have been together based on which they use. It's an intimate relationship, BT drivers loving their Batushkas better than most love their spouses. We got a Viper, an up-armored tread bike that offers the speed and flexibility of a tread bike without the common downsides. The Viper is now quickly becoming a loyalist darling, originally designed by Chief Engineer Halleck in a dream. Also allegedly stolen from Corvette blueprints, suggesting the latter is considered a punishable offense. We've got Pantry Boy, which sounds a little bit like a slur, but the Pantry Boy is a modified troubadour chassis with the driver pushed forward and lower for a better view of the road, and the gun mount moved up and back. Better balanced, but with the position of the gun and recoil stability concerns, it gets a turret instead of an auxiliary mount, giving a full 360 field of fire. Pantry Boy riders get razzed for their training wheels outrigger configuration, but it takes a lot less time to get proficient in riding one compared to the accident-prone troubadour. There's a story of a Pantry Boy driver taking down a Julius in single combat, but the names change every time I hear it, just like the origin of the name Pantry Boy. Finally, we do have the Troubadour. One tank tread, an auxiliary gun, and a lot of horsepower. Troubadour is what made the Outriders famous. Originally built as a glorified police vehicle, a kind of forward-slung cargo sled, it had Corvettes running rampant through narrow alleys to convince NEP brass that it needs to let the design bureau run loose on a version of their own. Stripping out the cargo harness and replacing it with an auxiliary mount, and doubling the engine size was their answer. Since then, it's lived in a recon, patrol assault, and as a loner for any action that needed a good chase scene role. There's not a damn thing on the ground that can match the Troubadour for speed, and the tread over wheels means even difficult terrain can't stop it. And next we get to the A-Graph. Not fully sure what an A-Graph is yet, but I guess we will have to try to assume that from what we read here. Possibly the ugliest vehicle in the Loyalist Army, the Kettle is an older A-Graph originally spec'd for rear echelon support work. Designed to bring in cargo and supplies while providing fire cover as needed, I've heard reports of these things be used like medieval siege towers, battering rams. Pilots drive them straight into the enemy bases with a posse of stemmed up infantry clinging to the rails. If they survive the collision, the element of surprise usually means they can capture whatever's still standing. Huss. Originally just a heavy lifter, a workhorse for settlements beyond Novo Solo, before Echo was founded. Fuel and load capacity in spades. After the shortfall in overall combat readiness following the Troubles, the NEP took to putting in heavy mats and up-armoring the Huss. And the beloved transport Agrav became a beloved rear-line defensive Agrav. It'll take some real cojones to, I'm guessing that's supposed to be like cojones, to take one of these things out and fight it in it unsupported. Is the tilde, I should have looked this up before, is the tilde in Portuguese a nasal? Because I know cojones from Spanish. Probably not saying it right, but that's what it was, what I would guess from that. The Bombucha. Great leader has no need to rule the stars above. So the NEP absorbed a lot of the old chip technology that got left in the necropolis. The Bombucha, as they refer to it, is just a repurposed frigate torpedo with a civilian anti-grav drive thrown in to make it function in the gravity well. The controls are slave to an onboard IFF computer, making them into deadly fire and forget anti-armor units. Despite the crude solution, don't mistake these things for easy prey. Naval durability specs and countermeasure defeat systems make this thing able to take a ton of punishment before going down. The NEP are definitely counting on their enemies' ignorance of the fact. Got Schultz, I think they just have like Agravs are just devices with anti-grav units on them. Take the Fritz, toss out most of its more sophisticated components, and build a Sparrow on top. There you go, Schultz is your service. I don't know if this was a case of making the Fritz more maintenance friendly, an odd solve for excess Sparrow uppers, or just a symptom of the NEP's perpetual desire to upgun its arsenal. Regardless, the Schultz makes for an odd but workable, large caliber tank destroyer. The design bureau keeps messing with its gyros. Doesn't mean something's wrong. Plenty of revisionists in that crowd, tinkering for its own sake. Go for the Fritz. The latest and greatest for the loyalists. Grav tanks give you the maneuverability of an A-Grav with the firepower and versatility of a tank, with cost overruns of both. Unfortunately, the brass decided they were best kept leading parades for Central rather than deployed to any companies that could really use them. Despite being show ponies, the crew that get to run them have uniformly high marks. The maintenance crews will give you a litany of profanity. And we get to the Raider. Also known as a horseshoe, the Raider is designed for long-range reconnaissance and patrol missions. Big equipment rails and over-spec'd Agrav drive unit means that you can load them up with a week's worth of supplies without losing maneuverability. Huge antenna to keep touch. But after the Troubles, not a lot of interest in the Nova Solo went beyond the walls, the punishing flora and fauna. Most traders got up-armored and tuned for the jobs they'd be doing in the future, serving as local command and comms relay, particularly in the outer districts. Older pilots still clung to them as they clung to the dreams of running missions beyond the walls of the city. That's not where Great Leader has had his sights for years now. Alright, I guess we'll finish off with the rest of the Loyalist weapons today. Start with the Light Agrav Rook. It's ugly, it's slow, and it floats. NAP platoons use these as punishment details, and on rare occasions when a handful are available, as recreational vehicles. It turns out flying two of these things into each other is a lot of fun as long as you wait a few hours after your last meal. I've also heard there's something with rooks called shanty bowling, but I haven't seen it myself. If you come across any of these in combat, take pity on the pilot. Remember that they build these things to last. We got the broadsword. broadsword is a result of the competing bid for the contract that gave the NEP the Fritz. The brass was so impressed with this design that it earned its own separate contract. More expensive to produce than the Fritz, but fractionally easier in maintenance, enough to earn dedicated admirers. If the broadsword wasn't explicitly modeled after the Prowler, it may well have been. It can't match its older sibling's speed or durability, but both weapon mounts have been upscaled, giving it a real nasty bite. The two designs complement each other well enough that they're often deployed in concert, making for a friendly rivalry between the crews. Prowler vets decry the lack of speed and platform stability, while broadsword teams swear by the superior firepower and flanking potential. Both are solid designs regardless. Got the buckler. There are faster agravs out there, and there are more heavily armed agravs too, but few can do so well as the buckler can. Airframe has mercifully few retrofits on the service record. The big Burnham power plant keeping its big ass off the deck nicely. Moxel and indirect vision system keeps the pilot cocooned in titanium sheathed in a blade of armor. Some pilots get a little panicky in there. That's about the only thing you can say against it. It's got a long service life ahead of it. We got the Tomahawk. The Tomahawk traces its fuselage heritage directly back to pre-colonial helicopter designs, which you think would put at a disadvantage, but aside from the indirect vision equipped armored canopy evolved further in the buckler, this bird remains a favorite of pilots. The drive plant are fairly primitive and demand a lot more fuel than a lot of agravs, but simplicity means that it spends more time in the air than on maintenance. The main hardpoint underslung along the center balance keeps recoil manageable. It's got one of the best lateral speeds of any agrav. They recently forced a garrison-wide repaint to cover up. The Tomahawk pilots are known for their increasingly elaborate and explicit canopy and nose art. And we end things off with the Canary. The agrav sibling to the Doorman. Duty flying a Canary is often a punishment, but the flunkies that end up piloting them don't seem to mind. In fact, I hear the Canary assignments are sought out because of the sophisticated comm surveillance optics package. Late-night Canary patrols are usually just a binge of eavesdropping and voyeurism, except none's the wiser because you're just night watch. Not that I'd know, but I got some tapes if you want to trade. Telephoto shots from showers and high-rises at the outer core. Splashdown of harvest rounds on a crowd shot in thermal. Canary Pirate's got all kinds of tapes if you got a little extra script. Wow, on that wonderful note, I guess we'll call it here. Next time we'll continue on with the new mission, the new weapon. We've got like a whole new vehicle type, so I guess we're really kind of expanding on the tutorial and learning about all the different mechanics the game has to offer, which I'm more than fine with. But the bulk of that we will be doing later. For now, we will call it here, and as always, thank you for watching.